So I have a panel about this today at 5 o'clock. But I got into voice acting a little bit. I took the back way. I was a theater actor, and I went to school for that. I went to college and majored in theater. And then I was in Dallas, Texas, actually. That's where I graduated from Southern Methodist University. And I got an agent through the Mary Collins agency, and they started sending me to Funimation Entertainment. And that was the first time I ever did voice acting, was for anime. And I stepped into the studios and auditioned for very small roles in shows that I'd never heard of before. It was 2009. And that's how I started. I was doing little bit parts as a newscaster, as a woman number 4, as someone's mom in a crowd somewhere. And then the directors got to know me, and I built the relationships at Funimation, and I got to do bigger and bigger roles. And then I happened into video games and commercial voiceover as well, and the rest it just kind of took off after that. Yeah. Of course.
So, with that journey of voice acting, you have that moment where you're still like, okay, I'm going to do this way, I'm going to do this way. When did you get to that comfort level where you're like, you know what, I'm just going to be able to, I can give off, I can give extras, I can bring my personality to this world a little bit better. When did you get to that comfort level?
So the first thing I can think of with that would have been Borderlands 3. It was 2000... we record that 2018, I think I started recording that. The game came out in 2019, I think. Oh great, that's awesome. You can So I had already done Borderlands 2. That was my first video game I ever did, and they had just introduced this character of Maya the Siren. She was new to the world, and I was new to the world. There's this great backstory with Maya, and her, she was raised in a monastery with monks. I was raised in Catholic school. That Maya, throughout the story of Borderlands 2, as some may know, she breaks out. She decides that this is not the life for her. This is a life someone else chose for her. And I think Maya in Borderlands 2, and we clicked really well. I had always chosen my life and my path, but I knew what it felt like to try and fit what other people wanted you to be, or what you thought other people might want you to be. And as an actor, when you're fresh out of school, you go, oh, who do you need me to be? Instead of, who can I be as me, and what will that bring to you? So I would say Borderlands 3 was 7 years later. It was 7 years into my acting, well, a few more years than that, into my acting career, and they said, let loose. And Gearbox was amazing. Joel McDonald directed. The writers were in the room, and we had so much fun. And just as the liberation of Maya's character came to be, I felt the liberation of my own character. And who is Martha, and how much fun do I get to have in this booth today? So, yeah, it was really cool. Yeah. I had moved to New York at that point, and so I was putting myself out there in new ways, and I was a lot older, 8 years go by, and you kind of go, yeah, I know who I am a little more. But I'm really, really proud of that, and I'm so lucky to have had Maya throughout the years. Thanks.
And one of the opportunities you got because you moved to New York for a while is that you spent about half the season working on the Pokemon anime. How did that come about and work out?
That was a funny one. I did not expect that. Because I had done Funimation and I was already on shows like Assassination Classroom, the Railgun series, and Accelerator. I did Aiho Yomakawa for years and years, going through all of those. There was still a lot for me to do. There was an Assassination Classroom kind of spin-off called Koro Sensei Quest. It was drawn a little differently. And so I had to do all that from New York, but it was through Funimation. So I needed a studio, right? This was before we were doing everything from home. So I found, or my agents in Dallas found me NYAV Post, which is run by Michael Sinter-Niklas, and he's a voice actor as well. Incredible person. Just, he can do everything. I think he's the voice of Leonardo in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it's his studio. So I start going to NYAV shows, and I started doing animation stuff there. And then I started animation roles. And then Michael said, puts me on the back of his moped and we ride 30 blocks uptown from Flatiron up to Duart in Midtown. And I walk into the room and Lisa Ortiz was doing the session. Lisa's incredible. Really, she's an incredible voice actor and a really solid and demanding director. She makes you work. And Lisa and I worked really well together. And she cast me as Officer Jenny. I was a replacement just for a little bit. I wasn't to do it for a long time. And then she goes, hey, do you do monster voices? And I was like, sure. Yeah. Yes. When someone asks you that as a voice actor, you say yes. Yes, I do monster voices. And she said, great, there's this Pokemon I want you to try out for. Its name is Jupiter. It's this little water bug. I've got this episode coming up. So she kind of helped me find this character. She had me try a lot of different sounds. And I did my first episode, like a full episode as Jupiter, the little water bug Pokemon. And I'll tell you, it was hard. Dubbing in and of itself is tricky, but dubbing a Pokemon, and I'd never done that before. The script is not words, obviously, and it doesn't tell you what sounds to make as the Pokemon. You just have to make the sounds of its name. But it was so much fun and so hard to record. And by the end of the episode, I felt like, oh, I get it now. I know I could probably do this a lot faster next time. Because you forget and I was making noises that I wasn't supposed to make. You know? Yes. Well, Anime Milwaukee is my favorite convention to come to. I've traveled all over the country, and it's just so special. I'm like feeling a little emotional thinking about it. My family is still here. I'm very close with my siblings and my dad, and no one in my family has done anything remotely like this. My siblings all played sports when we were growing up. I mean, I was growing up going to Bucks games and Brewers games. My dad took us all around the city. But there wasn't, I don't know when does anyone know when the first year Anime Milwaukee was? 15 years ago? I was living in Texas at the time. So when this came around, I wasn't even here. Coming from that background, being in Milwaukee, having my work here downtown, when I used to come here as a kid and see athletes play and musicals and stuff down here, and any of the programming from the city, going to museums, I just feel it's so special getting to do my work here and meeting my people and drawing people here. That energy to me, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just a very particular feeling when it's your own home. Yeah. So I love coming. I'm so thankful that Anime Milwaukee brings me back. This is my third year in a row. And I try and bring new things every year. I've got new things people can buy at my table, but I'm also bringing new panels this year because Milwaukee is so special to me. I wanted to give that back to Anime Milwaukee this year. So, never done this. This is the first time we're trying it out. But today I have a panel called Get the Ball Rolling, and it's an extensive look at how I got into voiceover and how I found skills in unexpected things growing up here in Milwaukee. Tomorrow I'm teaching an improv panel, which will be really fun. We'll all get up on our feet and we'll play just fun games together as a group. And then Sunday I have a really special panel with my dad. I invited him to be a part of it. The panel is called Coming Home, and it's about the importance of having someone in your corner, whether it's a parent, a sibling, a relative of any kind, a friend, a group. The importance of family and friendships and people who see you and love you for what you bring, and how things like anime, video games, parts of our culture can bring us closer together in our relationships. My dad would watch cartoons with us as we were growing up. He knew the games we played. He inserted himself into our world as children. And I think we're stronger for that because he made an effort to find out what we were interested in. And he, yeah, so I wanted to invite him to come and share that with me this weekend. So if you can all make it, I'd love to have you there. Yeah.
Actually, I'm thinking back off that one.
Sure.
Do you have a learning lesson that you learned from like a story that you want to pass on, that you could pass on to somebody who's actually seeking like voice work or like following your footprint?
Yeah, everyone's journey is their own. And I mean that not to isolate anyone, but to invite them to think of it that way, that we all get inspiration from each other. We're all in community in some way. We're all connected. While everyone's journey is their own, you're not alone, but know that however you come into it, it's not wrong. And I think that's what makes each voice actor special and unique, is that we all came from different backgrounds and different places. And so, yeah, I would say to anyone who's looking to get started in voiceover, work with what you have now and build from there. And don't discredit anything that makes you special. I think we can often put that to the side and say like, yeah, but it's not exactly this. But it's what makes you unique, and it's your own special set of skills, and you never know how one day that'll come back into your life and in your career.
So, at this point, So at this point, we're about a year and a half out from when things started to come back after the pandemic. What have you noticed in the industry? What sort of returned to normal from before, and what sort of changed forever?
We are still recording from home, and I've been tipped off that that's not going to change. I did come back to studio for a couple projects, but those were commercial voiceover, actually. I think Crunchyroll, that took over Funimation, is now recording in studio again. And they have a set of rules. I was just sent a new set of rules from them. So, I would love to be back in a professional recording studio, and that is happening. I think that it helps the voice actors to give their best performance when we don't have to be the engineer as well, when we can just focus on the acting. So I'd love to see how we can make that more of the culture again, too. That said, having a home studio now offers a lot of freedom for people. And being able to record when you're on the road, too. You can bring your own setups now, and technology is advancing so rapidly. And I think that's a wonderful part of this. We have ways to connect that we didn't before this pandemic. I use a program called Source Connect. I can run sessions from my home studio that goes to an engineer in basically real time, and they can record with such good quality audio, I don't even need to run a backup on my computer because it goes through so smoothly. It's great. You should look into it. I mean, and hopefully costs will only come down and be more accessible to people as technology grows. So, yeah. No problem. No problem. No, I just meant to sum it up. I really like where we're headed with all the accessibility, and people can, people who maybe want to get into voice acting have the means to do so now. They make microphones that that are pretty good for USB mics that you can plug right into your computer. Most people have a laptop. I know not everyone does, but we're able to make it happen from the ground up. It's kind of leveled the playing field in a lot of ways for a lot of actors. Yeah.
I was interested in some of the differences between dubbing, voice acting, video games, and obviously Western animation, since you don't have to dub that. Are there distinct differences between the three?
There's a lot of distinct differences. So yes, I started in anime and dubbing, doing the English dubs, and I think that was probably a good thing for me, because that might be the hardest one out of all of them. There's a lot of rules and restrictions, and a lot of people that are making this happen too. I've been talking about this a lot lately. A lot of people don't know that it starts with, you buy the rights and you get a translator first, and then the writers write it and shape it, and then the director comes in, and by the time I walk into that booth, so many people have worked to bring this to life. It is just my job to make sure all of their work gets put into the show, to make sure that I'm matching the mouth and I'm bringing the story to life in a true way to the actual anime. And it's just a lot of how do I describe it? You have to be able to take direction. That's number one. So I'm really glad I started there. Again, with anime, right? You're recording something that's already been created. Video games can be both, depending on it. I've done dubs of video games. I did Earth Defense Force 5, which I think was a Japanese game. So we kind of had to fit the game that was already there. I know, right? I hadn't either. I was like, oh. And then Borderlands. We just got to play. We just got to do it. And they would change the lines. Let's say we'd set it, or we were improvising something, or they worked a lot of our original stuff into the game too.
Which improvised line is yours
I actually don't know exactly, because we were having so much fun. We were so present in it. It was little things, or little laughs here and there, or I'm sure some lines. There are good stories that are people that are actors that aren't me. But I would say something, and I would see it in front of me on the screen. In my script, I'd see the line that was there, and then the line I said, and they would erase the line that was there, and they would type in the line that I said, like, all right, this is just the script now. So, and then as far as Western animation, I'm really excited to dip my toes into that even further and play in that way. I think I'm growing out of my shell more and more and more. And so, people want big personalities in animation. I get it. I watch TV now, or I watch shows, and I go, oh my gosh, yes, like they're just coming out of the television and into your ear, and you can. It's a totally different thing than, say, anime, where some animes I've done are really small and really intimate and based in reality. And yeah, it's such a wonderful spectrum. I'm really lucky. I think the most influential thing in my life was music. I was always into music as a kid, and any kind of school class or concert or any opportunity to sing a solo I just wanted to do. I took piano lessons, and I know it doesn't sound like it, but when I look back and I think about all this, I taught myself a little bit of guitar in college. I was in choirs in high school. I learned how to make sounds with other people and how to really use my voice in lots of different ways. So when I look back on it, so much of the music in my life put me in the position to step inside a booth and feel it out and listen to myself on a microphone and go, okay, I can fit into this. Or I can do my riff solo in here within these constructs. I was never really a riff solo person, to be clear. But for the sake of the metaphor. Yeah, there's structure to music. There's like an inherent bass structure to music, and then there's so much play with it. And that's all I want for my life. I don't have any specific characters in mind, but I've always wanted to play a Disney villain. And thank you so much. When you think of all the Disney villains, I mean, man. I love this. All right, let's get a Twitter campaign going. Let's do it. Okay.
So I got a fun one. I like to ask people who voice a lot of characters. You have to put together a buddy copy. Two of the characters that you voice. Which two characters are going to be in your buddy copy?
Ron Maru-Rindo from Good Luck Girl, and Irina Yelovich from Assassination Classroom.
You have that right.
Yeah, you. Most people take a little bit longer to think for it.
I love that question. Irina Yelovich, I got to play with so much range with her because she uses everything she has. If anyone's familiar with Assassination Classroom, she puts it all on the table. All out there. I didn't even audition for that role. Joel McDonald brought me in. He put together that whole cast without an audition. Because he was that good. He was like, he knew it. He knew exactly who he wanted for each one. Yes, it's one of my favorite. And so she would be incredible in any kind of buddy cop situation because she'd be so hard to handle in the passenger seat. You know she'd be in the passenger. She'd be riding shotgun. But she'd also probably come out as a hero at some point and look silly and everything. Ron Maru-Rindo was a character I did with in Good Luck Girl or Binbo Gamiga, and it was with Colleen Clinkenbeard and Brina Palencia. And Ron Maru is a very tomboy character, and I got to really channel a lot of fun, more like traditionally kind of tomboyish masculine energy with that one. And she's hilarious.
But I also feel like she would do the so when you have a good buddy cop, you gotta have a straight one, you gotta have like the wild one.
Yep.
So I feel like she would win. Like I feel like the two that you picked is the perfect two to pair up with the
I love that. Yeah, she'd definitely be driving the car. Ron Maru would be driving the car. Yeah.
What was your earliest memory of anime?
I think it was, well, oh my gosh, if I'm going all the way back, we would go to my dad's office on Saturdays, and he'd have to like do the mail and stuff like that. He would do some office admin, and we would watch Speed Racer on the TV. That had to have been the first. I was just on, and I knew that it existed. When I actually started watching anime was in high school, when I watched Princess Mononoke and Howl's Moving Castle around that time. And I was like, what is this? This is just, it opened my world. And I stuck to those movies a little bit more. It wasn't until I started working for Funimation that I got into shows and started to understand that world and those fandoms and And then I really, really learned more when I started doing conventions. My world completely opened up when I started seeing people wearing cosplays, and I went, what are they from? And what is this thing? And I was so lucky, especially right at the beginning. People were really kind to me and patient that I didn't know very much. And I would say conventions are the quickest way to learn more and more, and really engage your curiosity in that way.
Was there when it comes down to the costume, so you obviously
Mm-hmm.
what do you have a moment that you remember where you were like blown away by somebody's cosplay or the character that you
The first time I saw a Maya from Borderlands cosplay, I think was 2019, and I couldn't speak. And they did a really good job. They were professional cosplayers too. They knew I was coming. Yeah. I think Borderlands 3 was coming out. So, but they had of course they didn't have Maya's new build yet. But that was really breathtaking. Especially to see so much work put into that, so much time and attention to detail. It was really special. Yeah. No. People have said, hey, you don't not look like her. I am not skilled in the ways of costuming. But yeah, the Maya cosplays are always incredible.
Movies coming out.
Our second Twitter campaign. Let's get into it.
We're getting all this together.
Very productive.
No, someone had a great idea actually earlier today, to put the voice actors into those movies as an Easter egg. Not that we're the characters, so I know they're casting A-list celebrities in those roles. But what if, some of the voice actors were just sitting at the bar that they walk into?
Well, technically, that's what they did with Last of Us. I don't know.
Ah.
Yeah. A lot of their mocap actors, and they're playing random characters in the background. They kept the same actor or mocap actors, so that's why it looks as accurate as the game. And I'll let you know from the culture.
Oh.
I don't know if I'm speaking up, but for the culture, we do love the voice actors more than the business. Like, we don't care that Chris Pratt is going to be this. Like, we rather have the original side. So stuff like that.
Mario, I know.
Not Mario, that's his name.
We gotta give him a chance. We love Charles. Charles is the most beloved Charles Martinet, but we'll give Chris a
No,
chance.
we'll give him a chance. I'm just saying. Like, when it comes down to that, if you ask the culture, they're
Yeah.
going to decide what the voice actor is.
Wow. Well, that's great. I did not know that about The Last of Us. Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah. Although, kind of reflexively, I'm kind of hoping they can work in a voice cameo for John Leguizamo and Mario.
Ooh.
He is a voice actor.
Great idea. And who doesn't love that 80s movie?
I know that.
Is the 80s or the 90s?
93,
Early
yeah.
90s?
Live
93.
action Mario, yeah.
Was an adventure.
Such an adventure.
So I got another fun question.
Okay.
There's anime tropes that everyone Dragon Ball Z, you got EL.
Mhm.
Is there any anime tropes that you're like, I haven't done yet? Like voice acting tropes that you haven't got to do yet? That you're like, oh, I would love to do that.
Ooh, well, I don't know if this is exactly what you're asking, but I want to play more like young characters, like little boys and stuff. I just love that kind of play. I haven't really been cast as that yet, but I feel like I've got some voices in there that I could do. Just for fun, just because I think, you know why is I grew up watching cartoons. So not in the anime world, but I grew up watching cartoons that was a lot of little boys cast, and those are all voiced by women. If they weren't, a kid, that was voiced by a woman. And so I think I've always wanted to just try my hand at it and play like a really beloved character. Right? I'm-
That lazily big Billy Kid. It was the
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think of like
We're
this
getting them.
Bart Simpson, Bobby's World, the cast of Rugrats. You know, then I also had Billy West as who I got to meet a couple years ago as Doug and Ren and Stimpy and later Futurama and stuff. But yeah, I think I want to do what I grew up hearing.
Yeah.
You know?
Alright, third campaign.
Yes.
Even though anime has become a lot more part of American culture and developing over time, especially now, there's still a lot of people who are pretty closed off to it. What would you say or recommend to people who might not know about a lot about it, maybe be hesitant but are interested?
That's a really good question. I would probably point them to the movies that we talked about earlier, Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, or the world. Who is the animator that does a lot of food? He animates food really, really well. I'm blanking on his name. I would probably point them towards films that are highly stylized, but accessible in a sense of realism in some ways, more used to what we've seen in the past. What I mean by that is I would point them towards films that feel familiar in that way of and exploring a new world that feels like I dig this, I get it. It's easily, I think it's palatable, I think it's a little more accessible to mass audiences, and then from there, you know what? You helped me sum that up, and I thank you for that. Find something that hits your heart first, and don't stop until you find that thing, because it's out there. Okay, forget what I said before.
We're gonna use that.
We're gonna scratch that. Find something that hooks you, and don't stop until you found that thing, that anime, that show, or that movie. And then go from there.